to the No BS Short-Term Rental Podcast, an unfiltered look into the global vacation and short-term rental industry.
I'm Mateo Bradford.
And I'm John Stokinger.
And this is our podcast. We bring the right people to the table at the right time, giving you an inside view and take on the short-term rental industry like no other podcast can.
No BS Short-Term Rental Podcast, Season 1, Episode 5 now. How's it going, Teo?
Man, fantastic. You know, living the dream. Another great episode. Got a great guest today. Super excited. How are you, sir?
I am great. I'm back in Sandestin after being down here for VRMA, and I just flew back yesterday. I got meetings all day today, and then I go back home. So that's why you see this. Those that are watching on our YouTube channel, you can see that, you know, I am actually here on the beach in a dress shirt. You know, I'm a little weird.
I'm a little disappointed that that's not the live beach show, John. I just want,
Yeah, I'll work on it next time. I'm sorry. Well, today, speaking of VRMA, and we are joined by an amazing guest, Michelle Williams, who is the GM, General Manager at Atlantic Vacation Homes, and she also just happens to be a VRMA board member. Thanks for joining us, Michelle.
Good morning. I'm excited to be here. So just to add to my already lengthy title, so I am the GM of Atlantic Vacation Homes in Gloucester, Massachusetts, as you said. I'm on the VRMA board, and I'm the council chairperson for the VRHP, the Vacation Rental Housekeeping Professionals. So I cannot leave VRHP out. So.
Oh, yeah, she's leading the RHP, and I think we're underselling her a little bit too, because she's like vacation rental royalty. Shout out to Carol and her brother Jonathan. Like it's a legacy thing with her, and I would be remiss if I did not add how much she is valued on the D&I committee, on the diversity subcommittee. She is a crucial component to that, and is a great help to the work that we're doing there. So definitely don't want to leave that part out. So super happy to have you. Thanks for coming on the show. We're excited.
Excited to be here. All right, what you got for me? You got questions? You got?
Well, you know, let's talk about. We're just chatting. I mean, you know, the big thing that happened last week for our industry truly was we had a VRMA Connect, and it was, for me, it was like mind opening. It was bewildering. It was amazing because we all showed up in this location, and it's been over a year. Close to a year and a half since a lot of us have seen each other. We had over 100 people in one room, and no one was wearing a mask. And we were, you know, a lot of things have happened in the world, and a lot of things had opened up, and it was super amazing. Just take the mask out of it. It was just super amazing to be in each other's company. And so I kind of want to get your thoughts on that as you know, as we're coming together, and how that felt to you, and same to you, Mateo.
Yeah, it was, excuse me, it was definitely different for me coming from Massachusetts, where it had been a little bit more restrictive and locked down. You know, we're still trying to get the state opened up, and I think we had just heard yesterday from the governor that the state will be pretty much fully open, I believe at the end of this month, beginning of June. We've now heard that some events are going to be coming back later in the summer and into the fall. So that is great. So yeah, this was really the first real in-person event, real, you know, in-person travel that a lot of us have done. You know, the mask thing was a little weird. I'm personally vaccinated. So, you know, I'd already had, you know, 2 weeks past my second shot. So I felt okay. I think, you know, just again, on a personal level, I probably wouldn't have traveled for it if, you know, I had not had that vaccination, but it was still a little disconcerting to just see it coming from somewhere that, you know, everyone's wearing masks here. You know, I have mine handy. I'm in my office. So yeah, it was really different, and the attitudes about it are different, and, you know, I guess that's okay. And people, you know, should feel comfortable to, you know, protect themselves as they need to. And it's, you know, it is on the honor system of I think the CDC recommendation that had come out about not wearing masks had actually come out. It was either that morning or the day before, I believe. And so, you know, there's a lot of, oh, we don't need to wear masks. And it's like, well, if you're vaccinated, that's the case. So it's not like in everybody, but I don't know how closely that gets interpreted. But anyway, so that was the mask thing. But aside from that, it was really great to see everybody, and our industry really is like a family. So it was like a reunion, you know, hey, haven't seen you, except for on Zoom. Finally got to meet Mateo, your business partner, Anthony, and did not realize how tall he was. I was like, oh, when you meet somebody on Zoom, right, you don't get that perspective. So you know, it was that kind of thing. It was just great to see everybody. And we had our VRMA board meeting the day before the Connect. So a lot of us had come into town. I had come in on, you know, Wednesday night. And, you know, that was also great to see people in person. We had one board member who Zoomed in and was not able to attend in person, but everyone else was there. And a handful of the VRMA staff were there. And then the rest of the staff people that normally attend the board meetings were on Zoom as well. So we had kind of a combo meeting there in the hotel. But we realized that the last in-person board meeting, we usually do several a year, had been January 2020. So, you know, that was a long time. So it was really nice to see everybody.
No, I agree. I think this was the first in-person event, right? Wasn't there that I know? I think there was like something in Texas. Event. Yeah, this was like the first official event. It was great. It was great to see people. I think everyone was like, "Oh, you want to hug? I'm vaccinated. Can we hug? Can we hug?" All right. I mean, because the climate was respectful. I think the VRMA did a good job of doing what it could to make people, you know, to be able to deal with the spectrum of like how people felt. It was kind of, you know, they had the armbands for people who were, you know, the red, yellow, green, you know, to let people know, you know, whoever they were. I honestly didn't see anybody wearing one, so I assumed it was all green, or at least the people that I saw. But, you know, people were respectful. You know, we were in a community with others that were around there. So you did see people wearing masks kind of outside when they were with other people. And then you saw, I mean, but there wasn't a lot, let's be clear. Because I think the attitude of everyone was just over it. Everybody was ready. Everybody was super, you know, excited to be back. That atmosphere was really great to see and to be a part of. Everyone was clearly ready to get back to these in-person interactive events. And I thought it went well. It was a good time. It was really good to see people. I think this is an important start to kind of what reopening looks like, right? The beginning conversations is like, well, what's our new normal going to be? And, you know, when are we going to get back? And I think this is the beginning of whatever that new normal is going to be and what that getting back looks like. So felt great. And I'm excited for this season. I just hope everything stays the same. You know, people continue to, you know, take proper precautions, especially those who aren't vaccinated. Hey, you know, I believe people have their choice to do what they want to, but, you know, those choices have repercussions. And, you know, we just hope that doesn't, you know, make anything, you know, I just hope it doesn't have any adverse effects right down the line that cause, you know, kind of blowback. So, but I'm keeping it in the positive space. It was a wonderful time. It was great to see everybody, and I'm looking forward to the next events.
A couple observations I had early on that first day is you saw there's some, and again, to stay on the same mask, and then we can step off a bit, but a couple observations I had, there is a couple people that had come from, say, California, or some really strict, in New England as well, but some more strict locations, you know, leading up to this. And the one observation was there was a gentleman there, and he wore his mask for the first, like every time I saw him walking past, he was wearing his mask. And then it was just like, he turned it off. He's like, you know what, I'm done with it. I feel it's like he got past and over that comfort zone. And it's like, I guess this is how it is. Another observation that I thought it was pretty amazing. I was at the final, the advocacy meeting, Be Home 247, that, you know, with Steve Myla that last day. I was out there, and I was talking to a woman, and she came up to me and she said, you know, I haven't, like, it was just like a switched for me. Like, I had, up to today, I never even thought about not wearing a mask. And then I just took it off, and then I haven't thought about putting it back on. It was like an on-off switch for her. And I thought that was interesting because it's a big mental thing that's kind of been going on too with all of this. And to, talking to a lot of people, coming from the Pacific Northwest as well, there's people there that, it's like, they never even could imagine. And then we all got together and then it was like, oh, we're the same people we've always been. And we're still, we're being respectful to each other's space. And it was fantastic. That's my take on it. It was a sigh of relief overall. But I do want to talk, Michelle, about, I want to talk about that board meeting and talk about, how, the day before you guys got together and, you're hammering some stuff out like you normally do, but now you're in person, you're not in Zoom, minus that one person. I know who it is.
Handful, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give him crap. How excited are you all for 2021 here in the future? I know we got a VRMA International coming up here. I know we have another VRMA in Vrhp coming up next month. I mean, talk about where VRMA is going and what we're doing, or, and I say both Mateo or I are on different committees with VRMA as well. So I'm on the membership committee. Mateo's on both the membership committee, and he's the co-chair of the DEI subcommittee of the membership committee. So we're all involved with VRMA day in and day out throughout our months here. But talk to us about where we're going.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things is just trying to get back into, not just our normal, but we want to come back better than ever, right? So how do we do that? We in 2020 obviously had to spend a lot of time as a board making tough decisions around canceling meetings. We had a number of events canceled throughout the year. We didn't have our international, we didn't have our European. We transitioned to have a lot of online events, which was great. We're trying to figure out how some of those, online events or, hybrid events that are some online, some, like doing live streaming at conferences, how does that work? So we're trying to really look at that and say, what does that future look like? And also, there's a lot of different initiatives, as you guys know, that we want to make sure have a top priority. So for instance, the D&I committee that is for people who don't know, because we're throwing out acronyms. So this is the diversity and inclusion subcommittee, which is a subcommittee of the membership committee. So really being able to look at our membership, making sure that it's as inclusive as possible, making sure we're reaching people in the industry that should be in the VRMA. And then how do we get the next generation of vacation rental folks as well? So I think there's going to be some exciting things coming up. And the other piece that you guys probably know about, so we had an executive director who left, so we're in the process of a new executive director search. So that's a big piece too of the puzzle, obviously. And really picking the right person is going to help us shape the next few years. So we're confident we will do it. But those are the big items right now that I can think of.
I think and personally, I'm looking forward to the international conference. Like, I think that's the big one, and for the work we're doing on the diversity committee, and really trying to garner new blood and get people out there. But above and beyond that, getting everyone else back there. I think it's perfectly timed, right? Like, knocking on wood. I won't knock on wood for sound, but making sure that all things are level. People are more comfortable by that time. Things have leveled out. We've really gotten to a space where we can really rev the engines and get things going back again. I think that's going to be a great show, and really looking forward to making that as open as possible and seeing everybody there, because it was great here. I'm just imagining, like, that was actually my last show in 2019. New Orleans was the last time I saw a lot of those people, because there was a couple of international shows after that, but then everything shut down. All right, we didn't get to have VRMA Europe or the European show because that was struck in the heart of COVID. Almost got stuck in Portugal. It wasn't very fun, but that's what I'm really excited about. I'm really looking forward to, not that the other events aren't going to be great. I think there's Amy's event, in Charleston coming up in August. So it's like it's kind of like we get to ramp up to this, and hopefully that's just going to be building up momentum, and more people will feel comfortable, hearing, hey, these events are a success. It's great to be back in person. Because again, I think when you look at how people feel, there's no general consensus. And I think a lot of people feel kind of social pressure because certain groups are like, we just don't care anymore. And then people are like, I'm going to wear my mask a little bit longer just because I'm not as comfortable, or, maybe they have health reasons why they want to be a little more cautious. So that dynamic was definitely kind of around, but it wasn't dominant. And I think most people did feel comfortable. And then the ones who didn't kind of manage themselves in a way that, allowed them to be comfortable. Because I haven't spoken with anyone that was just like, I can't believe this was like this. Just not ready. You've definitely got the other side of the people who are just like, hey, I've been ready. I'm ready. I don't care what is going on. I'm ready to be here. But, even looking at the broad spectrum of people that were there, I think everything was done in a respectful way. But I do think it is going to take time for the broader public to really kind of embrace getting back together. But it takes time. That will be with anything public, concerts, games, whatever we're doing in the space. So
and that's why this event was a good sort of litmus test and really gauging the appetite for being able to do these types of events again. So my understanding was that this was actually a sold out event. It was at capacity, about a couple hundred people were there, and I believe it was 30 different sponsors, 30 different vendors were there. So that was fantastic. And I think even of that 200, I had heard that it was only like 60 or 70 people that were actually from Florida. A lot of people were coming in from other places and nearby, but people were coming from the Gulf Shores area, from the Carolinas. It was sort of a swath of the Southeast. And then you had a handful of people like, me from the Northeast. But, it was not just a Florida event, even though it was technically meant to be a Florida event, because so many people were so excited, I think, to, finally go do something and travel and see our people. It was, a lot of people came. And so I think that's a good indication for international, which is still several months away. That's at the beginning of October. So people have a little bit of time to kind of get ready. And, we'll have a lot more vaccinations under the country's belt, I guess, by then. So, one thing, Mateo, you're talking about the bracelets. So that was an interesting concept. And I agree that I didn't really see anybody with bracelets on, but it was a nice idea. You could wear a red if you just didn't want to, engage, overly with people. Green if you just didn't care. And then yellow was kind of like, I'm being cautious. I didn't see anybody wearing bracelets, but next to the bracelets, there was a table that had different supplies. So there was Kleenex and little like travel size wipes and some little hand sanitizers and things. So, and that was nice that people could kind of grab those if they felt like they needed extra supplies in that regard. So
I think
there was a lot of it. That was a whole table full of all of those supplies, and it was the big hand sanitizers, the hand wipes, whatever you needed. It was definitely there.
So I imagine that would continue.
Yeah, it has to. Let's talk about what VRMA as a value add, since we're all here, and for those that are on the fence about VRMA and what they would actually bring to, if you were either a vendor or a property manager in the space or someone that's just getting into the space. Michelle, you've been with how long? Can I ask how long you've been with VRMA?
Let's see. Well, I started working for Carol officially 2015, I think.
Okay.
So that long. I mean, Carol obviously was the number one before I was. So.
Right.
I'm telling you, royalty, John.
I know.
We're gonna start giving them titles. We're gonna start treating you guys like the royals of the industry. We're gonna put a little tabloid together. We're gonna start following you guys around. Hold on, you're gonna get the royal treatment.
Maybe we can get Matt Land.
It's a culture thing, right, John? It looks so.
Well, there are a lot of family businesses in this industry, so we're just one. We might be some of the lesser nobility. I don't know.
Most involved, it's still involved. No.
So what, I mean, but what are we going to go ahead is someone that's listening to our podcast that isn't really familiar with VRMA. What does membership bring them? Where does it, for those that have coming in, I mean, I just hear people that are newer to VRMA are talking about the initially coming into VRMA and how the camaraderie and just the bouncing ideas off each other and having not only, coming together with a bunch of like-minded people, but a professionally managed focus on these like-minded people. What is your thoughts on what this brings and how it professionalizes our community?
Yeah, no, definitely. The networking and the education piece are so huge. And that's one of the things that I appreciated about the organization from the beginning, really being able to come in as a relative newcomer and learning from the best people in the industry. It's a very open industry. And for the most part, if you're in the same market as somebody, you may not want to share all your secrets. But I have found that, for people in different markets, people have been really open. And I've gone to other companies in other parts of the country and visited and hung out in their offices and been able to kind of learn and say, oh, how do you do that? How do you do that? And that's helped immensely in our own business. And then we've been able to turn around and do the same for other people and teach what we know and share how we're doing things and what we've learned ourselves. So that piece alone is worth the price of admission. And one of the other really strong benefits that's been happening over the last few years in particular is the advocacy piece. And what the VRMA is doing is really trying to protect our industry. One of the things that happened during COVID was that, more than ever, different areas were trying to use COVID as a sort of backdoor way to impose much stronger regulations and restrictions on the vacation rental industry. So particularly in Florida, one of the things that happened was that the governor had shut down vacation rentals, supposedly because of the risk of COVID, but didn't shut down hotels. So it wasn't lodging across the board, which in Massachusetts it was. They shut down lodging, just everybody. So at least that seemed a little more fair. There were some exceptions, like if you were housing frontline workers or things like that. But we just couldn't operate for several months at all. Whereas in Florida, it really was just the vacation rentals that were temporarily shut down. So being able to have the organization fight on our behalf has been incredible. And even if, like for us, the regulations landscape right now in Massachusetts is not so onerous as it is in other places. So, even though, I guess I would say for people, it's easy to say, oh, it's not my area. It's not, I don't live in Florida, or I don't live in one of these places where it's restricted right now. It's coming.
Right.
And it could
the key to that is right now,
Right. It could be in your neighborhood at any moment. And VRMA is able to pivot, and they are able to really go to the places that need it the most. So, I would ask everybody to be able to donate to the Advocacy Fund. That's something that we're really looking for donations right now, especially from property managers, because it is coming to your area, whether you know it or not. It will get there eventually in some form.
Just a quick pivot, or to stay on the same topic, but let's talk about that first night when we came in and we went to that advocacy fundraiser, and how we had a goal of, Steve Milo is the chair of the Advocacy Foundation, or the Advocacy, VRMA Advocacy. And he had a goal, and as a team, they had a goal of raising $150,000 that night in person. We reached $150,000 in like a half hour. It was amazing. I mean,
I think we came away with 205.
205 total. Yeah, it was insane to see everyone come together and and really champion for fighting these regulations and coming together and having a voice together. It felt so good, leaving that night. I just I'd smile, and when we hit the 150, I had goosebumps. It felt great.
Yeah, no.
Shout out to Steve and everyone that put that together. That was that's great for the industry, for sure.
Yeah, and we need this. And whether or not the restrictions are in so many forms, right? And depending on your area, in some cases, people are trying to shut down vacation rentals. In some cases, they're trying to over-regulate them or apply these, sort of ridiculous restrictions that don't make sense. So we really need a national, international organization that's able to advocate on our behalf. So it really is important. And VRHP has also become part of this with the Safe Home Initiative. And that's something that actually helped in Florida and some of these other locations that were struggling last year. So VRHP worked on guidelines for cleaning under COVID, and we were able to roll out these guidelines to show, here's what our industry is doing to be able to keep our guests safe, keep our owners safe, keep the properties in good condition, keep our employees safe. So that was something I'm actually very proud of. And I know, Matt Curtis is still, using those. He's also a big advocacy person. And, with his business that he's doing consulting and trying to get a lot of these areas, under fewer restrictions, and the housekeeping guidelines are one of the ways. It's like the tools in the toolkit, right?
Right.
How we're able to do that. So I'm very proud of that.
So that brings up a really good point, Michelle, right? Too, I don't want to under housekeeping and our housekeeping professionals. I just hired one at the hotel that we're working on right now. And first thing I told her is you have the most important job on this property. You have the most important job here. The key to all of this working and continue for us being able to get to this point and to continue moving forward is going to be, how successful people are able to continue to run that portion of their business. So I know we keep saying throwing VRHP out there. I definitely want you to talk a little bit about that and kind of the things that you guys are doing in that space to ensure that managers and other professionals have those tools and have those resources to, stay in front of this and make sure that their guests, are at the end of the day feeling safe and comfortable in a clean environment. Because now we always said, we always used to joke, cleaning is the most important part. Now we know why. And now we've got, kind of evidence as to why this is the case. And moving forward, that's not going to change. It's even more important.
Right. Yeah, no. And the VRHP has always maintained that your property condition is your brand. That is what the guests interact with. That is what they experience the most. For us at Atlantic Vacation Homes, we have a remote check-in, so they don't really come. The guests don't come to our office necessarily to get keys or anything like that. They're able to just go right to the property. So that's the first thing that they experience. So if that property is not clean, if it looks dingy or dirty or like nobody's kept up with it, that's a reflection on us, and we're going to get a bad review if it's like that. So especially during a pandemic, right? We need to make sure that it's not only, physically clean, but we have to make sure that perception is that it is exceptionally clean, that it is, more than just clean, it is safe. And then how do you do that, right? So we've certainly been applying the VRHP cleaning guidelines. We talk about it on our website. We have a web page that we send to all of the guests that's kind of like a know before you go page that has all the information, like here's what we're doing about cleaning, here's all the different check-in times, here's the regulations in our towns about wearing masks or not, etc. So as things have been opening up, we keep that page updated. So it's important to have that communication and be able to give your guests the peace of mind. And certainly we've had people call, and I've had conversations with guests that they read it and they're still having questions, and I'm able to tell them, like, here's exactly what we're doing to make sure that you guys not only have a great time, but that you are, as safe as we can possibly make you. Right. So there's no guarantees in life on anything, right?
Right.
But we want to raise that bar and say that honestly, we did everything that we could.
Hey, Michelle, for those that are listening today that maybe have one or two homes, they're renting out, where are they going to find these resources to the professionally managed standards where they can go ahead and start applying these cleaning protocols for their own business?
That is a good question, John. Thank you. So the VRMA website, which is vrma.org, vrhp.org also, but they are connected. So if you go to vrma.org, there's a VRHP tab. So you can find all the information there about the cleaning guidelines and other VRMA initiatives and how to become a member, et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome. Tell me, before we started recording today, you were talking about these schooners and just it, and we had a little conversation. And I said, "Oh, like windjammers," and you're like, "No," and then we're kind of on the same page. Thank you, thank you, Google. But tell me about 2020 was what it was. You had a great year because you're in a drive-through location. You're on the coast of Massachusetts. Tell me about how everything is opening up, and do you feel this is going to affect your season even greater than it affected it last year?
Yeah, last year, even though we were still heavily restricted in some ways, right? So restaurants were only at partial capacity, bars weren't open for a long time, a lot of venues for concerts and things like that weren't operating. And over the last maybe 6 months or so, things have been slowly opening up a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. And it seems like every few days the governor makes an announcement about, okay, this is updating, that's updating. So we're trying to keep track of it all. But we did just hear that Massachusetts will be more fully open by the end, I believe, this month, beginning of June. And then now we had an announcement last night that our Gloucester Schooner Festival, which is Labor Day weekend, is on. Yay! That's a big one for us. And the 4th of July fireworks, which for us is usually the 3rd of July, sounds like that is also a go. So that is going to be fantastic. And I think everyone's going to be super excited in town to finally be able to do some of these things again. And, most of our events in the summertime, they're outside anyway. Right. We have a lot of festivals, usually in outdoor music concerts and art exhibits and things that are often outside. So I think it makes sense to be able to bring those back. And because Massachusetts has been more restricted, I think the people who really do want to continue wearing masks and be safe in that way will continue to do so. And I think that's okay. And as people are vaccinated more and more, there's going to be some that will say, no, I don't necessarily need a mask. And, a lot of kids are still not vaccinated yet, right? So I think, for families, we're a big family destination. So I'm assuming we'll still see a lot of families with masks on, protecting their kids. So.
Well, even down here in Destin, it's like 50-50 out and about outside, that there's 50%, I'd say, of the families are still rocking masks. And I think that's, good for you. And if that's what makes you feel comfortable and perfect. And as long as there's no, mask shaming or no mask shaming from either side, I think we're going to, and everyone's being respectful, I think we're going to be okay.
Right. It's exactly. Just let people do their thing,
Exactly. First of all, I'm excited about the Schooner Festival. First I've ever heard of it, but it sounds like something I need to experience at least once in my lifetime. So add that to my list. But no, John, I think you also hit the nail on the head. Like, I think, since this is a culture show, right? We want to talk about culture, and this is part of, the culture that affects our industry. I really hope that people, treat this coming back into our normal with patience, and kind of just respect for one another, right? Also, like, someone wearing a mask shouldn't be so offensive to you and your sensibility that it's a problem. Right. Again, you don't have to like it, but what that person does or what makes them feel comfortable should have nothing to do with you and what you're doing. And, I really hope that that's, the sentiment that we can roll out and continue to have, and that it's, again, not crazy people. But so talking about news, I don't know if you heard about what happened on the JetBlue flight last night from San Francisco to, I think it was New York to San Francisco. A passenger completely lost his mind, like, over a mask and not wearing a mask, and started, hurling slurs at people and doing all kind of other stuff. So again, like, less of that. And then, again, more of the, hey, just let it roll off your back. If you don't like it, fine, but it's not you. So
I'm not a fan of wearing a mask for 3 hours on a flight, but who
really?
I'm going to wear a mask.
I don't think a lot of people are. Like, maybe if that's like your fashion thing, or if that's something, maybe like people like have built out mask collections that they want to wear with the certain outfits. Like, hey, do what you do. But I think that has to be the attitude, live and let people do what makes them feel comfortable. And, understanding that not everybody's, level of comfortability is going to be the same coming out of this. Because also having an understanding of, you don't know what people went through this, right? Like people, could be sick. People could have lost loved ones and it made them super sensitive to the realities of what's going on around this thing. And so, and then on the other side of that, understanding that people are just fed up and tired too, right? Like on the other side, and that, some people are just, done with this mask thing. Hopefully they're vaccinated or whatever route they're going, or just being safe. Because that's what it really boils down to, is we're in this thing together. And, we don't have to. It'd be nice for people to take those things into consideration, because, you do have the right to, in free will, to do the things that you want to, but people also have to understand that we're here together, and those things that you do have repercussions for others. And I just hope we approach that with a more communal attitude, and not so much the negative kind of self, negating part of it. Like, oh, I'm missing out on this. Or, oh, this mask is restrictive to me that I'm not even wearing. It's no good.
I like to think we're also working for the greater good. So.
Right.
Yeah. I hope so.
So we had an amazing show. It felt so great. We're so glad you were able to join us, Michelle. We're excited, looking forward to future VRMA and other conferences and get-togethers. I mean, there's some amazing ones on the docket for this year. I mean, we got a couple in the summer, and then fall looks like it's bam, 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 one right after another. I know we have our own show. I know that VRMA. There's other softwares are doing their shows as well. So it's going to be an exciting year. For those that are interested in learning more about VRMA and VRHP, Michelle, one more time.
Oh, vrma.org.
Okay, perfect. And there's a wealth of knowledge here, and we just have some really great people. And again, thanks so much for joining us on the No BS podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, 27, right?
Yeah.
All right. Until next week.
All right. Thank you.